Hey guys, Fallen Messiah here, and welcome to my new and improved Crackling Energy Sorcerer build for Season 10, all wrapped up and ready to go. It's been a hot minute since my last video, as I've been very busy since the new season dropped, just farming and grinding and getting my build online so I can show it to you guys. And now, I'm here to show you the end result. If you've been in my channel for a while, then you know that this has always been the build that I wanted to test out first, long before the season even started. You guys really enjoyed my PTR version of Crackling Energy Sorcerer, and I had a ton of fun making and playing that build as well. However, the Season 10 version is very different. First of all, I made a mistake on the PTR by assuming that the reworked version of Esadora's overflowing Cameo granted bonus Crackling Energy damage only on hard skill points. Hard skill points being the ones that you physically put by clicking on the skill itself. But as it turns out, soft skill bonuses, aka all the plus skill bonuses from gear, also work. This changes the equation dramatically and allows us to get some serious damage going. With that being said, the new ring Galvanic Azurite has been severely nerfed in the live version of the game. So damage wise, we are looking roughly the same. Nevertheless, the end result is still an extremely fun build to play, super fast paced, amazing speed farmer, as you can see on your screen right now, and with the proper setting up, it can even compete into pit tiers 100+. Sounds good? Then sit back, relax, as I take you through everything you need to know. Skills, items, Paragon, gameplay, and more. With of course a written planner down below as always. And by the way, these videos take a long time to make, so if you appreciate my efforts, drop a like to the video and sub to the channel if you haven't already. This really helps me out a ton. And it also ensures that you'll miss any of my future guides coming up for Season 10 very soon. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So the entire build revolves around this item. Esadora's Overflowing Cameo. This has been reworked for Season 10. It used to be pretty trash, but now it offers us some pretty interesting ways to scale off Crackling Energy damage severely. So, first of all, we have two effects. Both are very important. Crackling Energy now deals 10% multiplicative damage for every level in shock skills we have equipped, which means every single skill on our action bar, you can have up to 6. That's what this item is counting. Now, in the PTR, again, I made an assumption that this doesn't count soft skills, but only hard skills. But as it turns out, every single skill rank, whether you put the point into it yourself or whether it's a bonus, applies for this effect, which is amazing for us. And this mechanic is basically what we are using to scale up our damage dramatically. The second part of this item also says that upon reaching maximum Crackling Energy stacks, we rapidly unleash all charges on the closest enemies to deal up to 100% X damage. I will explain this effect a little bit later in the gameplay portion of the video, but this is also very important. But basically, the first part of this item is why we're stacking so many shock skills and why all of them have so many ranks, because we are aggressively using this mechanic to stack up as many ranks on our skills as possible so we can have as much damage as we can. This item makes the entire build work, so you really need this item to play. It can be on an amulet slot, but ideally you want to use it as a chaos unique because it's just a lot better there, and then it frees up our amulet slot for something more useful. Now let's talk about skills. Most of these skills are here just to look pretty. They just sit up there nice and easy on our action bar and they passively add to our damage without us ever really using them. So that's a pretty awesome thing about this build. We don't really use most of our skills, but they still benefit to our damage. So with that in vain, we're gonna start off with 5 ranks to Spark. This is our basic skill that we seldom use. It's mostly a multiplier for our damage, but we do occasionally use this actively in a combination with one Chaos perk, which I'll talk about later. We're gonna put 5 points into Chain Lightning, and we will never use this. We'll also put 5 points into Charge Bolt, and also, again, never use them. 5 points into Teleport, Enhanced, and Shimmering for more damage reduction, 3 points Glass Cannon, 1 point Energy Focus, and 3 points Dampen Layer just for more damage reduction as well. 3 points into Precision Magic for more lucky hit chance. We're gonna put 1 point into Lightning Spear because we're gonna use this as an enchantment. Flying spears are pretty nice because they add more chance to lucky hit, and they also apply vulnerable. So we're gonna put just 1 point here so we can use it as our enchantment, but we won't be actually actively using them, especially not in the pit pusher variant. 1 point primordial binding, 2 points mana shield for more damage reduction, 1 point blizzard, enhanced blizzard, and wizard's blizzard. Try saying that twice. Now, Blizzard is an interesting addition to this build, and we only use it on the Pit Pusher build because you can see this effect. While we have an active Blizzard, we gain 1 mana regen per 20 maximum mana. We have over 13,000 mana, so this is providing us with a ton of mana regen. This is important because this is going to help us to keep us alive in high levels of the pit, because our mana equals our life. And this mana regen is basically a life regen. If you notice that you start losing mana significantly, you pop this once and then we're basically immortal during fight, which is very nice. For non-pit pusher variant, you can definitely replace this with 4 extra points in Lightning Spear, especially if you want to lean into the Lightning Mage fantasy. However, Blizzard is also really nice because it also helps us with Permafrost passive, and that's why Blizzard is on this build. Even though it primarily focuses on shock skills, this is one of the kind of 1-point wonders that really help to keep us alive and grant us more damage just by being on the skill bar as well. 3 points Inner Flames for more damage, 5 points Ball Lightning, Enhanced, and Wizard's Ball Lightning. This Wizard's Ball Lightning is critical. We're going to be spamming Ball Lightning all the time, and I'm going to talk a little bit why in the gameplay portion of the video, but essentially, every time we cast Ball Lightning, and we will be casting it all the time, we form Crackling Energy. So this makes the entire build work. You cannot skip on Wizard Ball Lightning, because otherwise you're just not going to do nearly as much damage as you potentially could. 3 points into Permafrost. This is an amazing passive, and again, we benefit thanks to having Blizzard on our skill bar. 3 points into Icy Touch, 3 points into Hoarfrost as well, 3 points Elemental Synergies, 3 points Evocation for more cooldown reduction, and we're gonna put 1 point into Coursing Currents, Conduction, and 3 points into Convulsions for even more Crackling Energy damage. And for our key passive, we're going with Overflowing Energy. It's just an amazing multiplier for Crackling Energy, and also it gives us a ton of cooldown reduction, so we almost always have teleport on demand, which makes this build so fast and fluid. Alright guys, it's item o'clock now. Now I will have a non-mythic variant in the build guide as well, but this is the best in slot version with all the mythics and chaos armor. By the way, it took me a long time to get everything online, especially with the chaos armor. Getting every armor on just the right slot where I needed to, it was quite a challenge. But anyway, we're starting off with Air of Perdition, and by the way, look at this beauty. This is the first mythic that I crafted this season, and it has 3 GAs. Just amazing. Finally, some luck my way. Now, this is the best in slot item here for several reasons. First of all, 60% damage increase thanks to the effect, but also it helps solve our crit strike chance completely. It gives us more move speed, and most importantly, it has plus to core skills. We have 3 core skills on our action bar. We have Ball Lightning, Chain Lightning, and Charged Bolt. So every point to core skills increases our damage by 30% multiplicatively thanks to Esadora's Cameo. So 6 to core skills is essentially 180% extra multiplicative damage. And before you ask, yes, Blizzard is also a core skill, but it doesn't benefit from Esadora's because it's not a shock skill. So just overall, this multiplies our damage tremendously. Shaco also works. However, I tested this on the PTR. It's not better than Air of Perdition. Air of Perdition is just a better item for this build. And as far as mythics are concerned, this is a priority mythic for this build. First, you should get the Air, then Ring of Stellar Skies, and then the Shroud. Even though the Shroud is the best item in most cases, on this build, it's not the best mythic unique, because core skill bonus is a huge multiplier on this particular build. Second item is Shroud of False Death. I think I talked ad nauseum about Shroud at this point. I have a video on my channel if you want, seek it out. I explained this item in great detail, why it's so powerful. +1 to all passives is insane, and also +2 all stats is just an amazing affix because it helps with all the effects on these rare nodes in your Paragon board. So it unlocks that as well and just gives you a lot more armor, damage, all of it. Amazing item. Now when it comes to Chaos Uniques, these three are interchangeable. You can have, for example, Esadoras in your boots. You can have Crown Illusion on your pants. You can have Locran on your boots and Crown Illusion on your gloves. That doesn't matter. What does matter is you having all three of these items in these slots. But on which slots per se, it doesn't matter. Now, for the first one, we're going with Locran's Talisman. It's just an amazing item for us because not only does it solve completely our crit strike chance in combination with Air Perdition, but also it straight up gives us up to 100% extra crit strike damage, which is insane. So just an amazing item with amazing synergy for this build. As far as masterworking is concerned, try to triple crit all stats. If you can't, crit strike damage is fine too. For Shroud, of course, all stats as far as masterworking is concerned. And for Air Perdition, try to triple crit core skills if you can. I already explained why it's so powerful. I tried to hit it with a triple masterwork, I failed, but double crit is fine too. And also, if you're lucky enough to have a GA on core skills here, that's just amazing. For the second item, Esadora's Overflowing Cameo, I already explained why this item is so good. You want to triple crit intelligence percent. As you can see, I lose a lot of damage here because I didn't get it. I straight up ran out of gold, guys. Look at this. I have 2 million gold because I used everything to buy all the Ohm runes for the Ringo Style Disguise. So the masterworking materials are not an issue. I have over 300,000 Obdicite. It's the gold that's the bottleneck this season, actually. But yeah, try to masterwork intelligence as much as you can. Crown Illusion, also absolutely amazing item. This is just a 100% extra damage multiplier. Because every time we use a skill with a resource cost, which our Ball Lightning is, we gain increased damage up to 5 times. And we don't care about resource cost because we have almost 10,000 mana. So we don't care about that. This is just a straight up 100% damage multi. No questions asked. Now, the stats on this item are not the best. You can try the triple crit cooldown reduction if you want. Other stats are not important. For the weapon, we're going with the Oculus. The Oculus does not have the Chaos Unique variant, so we're going to use it on the weapon. And we're using it because it provides so many skill bonuses to teleport. Every skill bonus is 10% extra multiplier on this build, so this 24 to teleport is 240 X multiplicative damage. And this is why we're using it. This is the only reason why we're using it. We don't care about any other stats here. So try to triple crit this bonus if you can. And in the same vein, we're going with Oaken's Catalyst. Even though it actually has some pretty decent stats, plus the Ball Lightning is really what we care about. Remember, this is not a Ball Lightning build. Ball Lightning is merely a vehicle for us that we use to gain Crackling Energy extremely quickly. And because this item has plus to all skills, it provides more skill bonuses to the skill we have on the action bar. It also multiplies our damage. So try to triple crit Ball Lightning if you can, but a double crit is fine too. You also have some pretty nice synergies with this build, like for example, we have more attack speed when we cast a defensive skill, which teleport is, and also just more damage reduction for every active ball, which is pretty nice as well. So overall, this is a great item for our build. However, this damage bonus for Ball Lightning is completely irrelevant. Use whichever you can, as long as ideally it has a greater affix on Ball Lightning. That's the only thing you care about this item. The actual damage bonus on the effect does not matter. For the amulet, I have a pretty trash amulet, unfortunately. Ideally, you want to have Intelligence, Permafrost, and Glass Cannon, or any other damage increasing passive such as Inner Flames. As you can see, I do have Intelligence and Permafrost. I'm missing the third passive, and I'm missing the GA on anything, unfortunately. It is what it is. For Tempers, we're going with Crackling Energy damage. I bricked this, so I couldn't get it. And the second one, Stun Duration or Freeze Duration or whatever. But you can pick whatever you want for the second temper. For Masterworks, try to triple crit Permafrost, but if one crit lands on Intelligence, that's fine too. Now this is the new ring, Galvanic Azurite. This plus to convulsions was actually this passive on the PTR, elemental synergies, and thanks to this, we were able to stock up on so much damage. Unfortunately, they nerfed it and they converted it into convulsions, which is still a pretty decent passive, so you want to triple crit that on masterworking if you can. It just straight up gives us 55% extra multi damage, which is nothing to scoff at. So it's still pretty powerful, but just not nearly as much as it used to be. And of course, you want to make sure you have this effect as close to 60% as possible. And for our second ring, we're going of course with Ring of Starless Skies. This is the second best mythic unique on this build. Not only does it give us straight up 50% damage multi, which is gonna be active all of the time because we're gonna be spamming ball lightning on this build. As you can see, there we have these 5 stacks all the time. Not only that, but it also gives us plus to core skills, which as I explained earlier, every rank to skills is a direct damage multiplier, and we have 3 core skills. So every rank to core skills, 3% X more damage. Ideally, you want to triple crit that on masterworking. Ideally, you want to have GA here. Unfortunately, I wasn't so lucky. So as you can see, there is so much room here for further optimization. If I only had a better ring, and if I had more luck with masterworking, I could easily squeeze out even more damage out of this build. So there's a lot of room for improvement still. For Chaos perks, this is a Mana Shield build. Mana Shield is so amazing because it grants us unlimited resource and pretty much unlimited survivability. So we don't have to invest a ton on life, armor, and all rest, even though they do help. But Mana Shield just makes us almost immortal in most situations. And in a few instances where we actually find ourselves taking heavy damage, we have this nice little blizzard here, we just cast it, and then our mana regen just gets back up and solves that for us as well. So what this does is it reduces our life by 99%, but any damage that we take goes to mana instead. Additionally, we gain 400% extra mana, and every point of intelligence equals more mana. Not only do we have more damage with intelligence, but also any point also increases our life in this build as well, which makes it even more useful. Another important property is that we also have 5000% mana regen as long as we haven't taken damage in the last 2 seconds. So in high tiers of the pit, when we take damage, we cast Blizzard, we take care of the pack, and then we move on to the next pack. We teleport. By the time we arrive to the next pack, our mana is already going to go back to full. So that's how we stay alive. Overall, I really love these unique Chaos perks for most classes in the game in this season, and Mana Shield is probably the best one. I love it so much. Now, unfortunately, for the other perks, there really aren't that many that are useful to us, but the most useful by far is going to be Explosive Combinations. When we cast the basic skill, we increase our damage by 20%, up to 3 times. So that's why we're going to be using Ball Lightning for most of our damage, but every now and then we want to make sure we have the 3 stacks of this buff as well, because it's just 60% extra multi damage. Why not take advantage of it? On Torment 4 content, you don't even need it, but for higher pit tiers, casting Spark once every couple of seconds is going to ensure that we have this buff on permanently. For number 2, we have Crazy Brew. Our healing potion allows us to gain more increased attack speed and movement speed, which isn't bad, even though we already have almost maxed out both of these things. And finally, Accelerating Chaos. This just allows us to get some extra cooldown reduction on top of cooldown reduction we already have on our gear, and also thanks to our key passive, so we pretty much always have a near permanent teleport, especially if we're in the middle of pretty heavy fighting. So that's really nice. Now let's talk about Runewords. For Runeword number 1, we're going with Seer Vex. As I explained, +1 to all skills is a huge multi for us, and this combination ensures that we have this bonus on permanently. Not only that, but we're gonna have +3 to all skills at all times. So with this combination, this amounts to 180% extra damage just by having this rune word. Not bad, right? We're always spamming Ball Lightning. Just look at this +1 to all skill bar. It's permanently on. So you can see rank 23 Ball Lightning, but once this procs, it's rank 26. Everything is increased by 3, and it's gonna stay that way for the entirety of the fight. Second reward is gonna be Igni Wool. So this is going to apply Frost Nova. It's a second source of vulnerable, right next to our lightning spears. So just another extra source of damage multi and crowd control. Really nice. For other gems, you will make sure you put intelligence here, emeralds on wand and focus, and the rest of these should be filled out with skulls to max out your armor. For enchantments, we're gonna go with lightning spear enchantment. That is why we put 1 point into lightning spear, because it's gonna passively create lightning spears as we absorb crackling energy, and they're really nice to proc lucky hit chance and vulnerable. The second one can be whatever you want. I put spark because we have a chance to gain even more crackling energy, but you can put anything else as long as it's a shock skill, because we have a damage multiplication thanks to our Paragon if we have both of these enchantments of the same element. So don't ever pick anything else that's not a shock skill, but if you want to put this, or I don't know, teleport enchantment, you can, even though we already get it thanks to the Oculus. So this is what I personally recommend. And as far as consumables are concerned, there's not a really whole lot of things to say. I'm using Sage's Whisper for more int, Song of the Mountain if you need your armor cap, and for the elixir, use whatever you want, just click on anything to get that extra XP bonus. That's it. Alright guys, it's time for the Paragon board now. As always, I won't go over every single note, that would take too long. By the way, don't worry, you're gonna have all of this in the planner as well. As long as you follow along, roughly, you're gonna be perfectly fine. On this build, we have so many sources of multiplicative damage that the only thing that's really important is to make sure that you unlock the second bonus of your glyphs and you select the legendary notes. That's it. Anything else is not really that important. As you can see, all of my glyphs are like level 60, 40, 40, 40, 40, just the barest of minimums, and I already cleared Pit 90 plus. So don't worry about glyphs too much. Just make sure you have both of the bonuses unlocked and available to you. Also, because of the mana shield, you will not see me put in any extra life nodes that I usually would. So I'm not gonna go on and pick this, or go out of my way to select, for example, these nodes, because they're completely useless. Life is a completely useless stat on this build. What a time to be alive, right? So in literally any other build that isn't a mana shield build, I would always put these two as well as a requirement to keep yourself alive, but on this build, life is not important. So anyway, just to briefly go over things. First, we're starting off with Destruction. This is a pretty nice multiplier on our crit strike damage, and also every time we crit, we deal more damage, which is gonna happen all the time. Second glyph is Charged. Charged is the most important glyph because it gives us a lot of crackling energy damage. It's additive, but it's still a lot. So over here you can see we have over 300 extra crackling energy damage, which is pretty nice. Additionally, if you have any extra Paragon points to spare, it should go here by selecting every intelligence node in range, because every intelligence node is even more additive crackling energy damage. This glyph also goes here because it synergizes amazingly with nodes such as Galvanic Catalyst and Devastate. For the legendary node, we're going with Ceaseless Conduit. This is a huge source of damage multiplication for us. But also the second effect of this is extremely important. This is why we're spamming Lightning Bolt so much. When we reach full charges, our damage is increased by 3 times this amount until we run out of charges. So in combat, we want to ensure that we never run out of crackling energy charges to keep this uptime to 100%. Then we deal tons and tons of damage, okay? Board number 3, glyph number 3 is Tactician. We deal 15% increased damage for 4 seconds after casting a defensive skill, which teleport is. This duration is increased by 4 seconds for each defensive skill not on your action bar. So observe, when I press teleport, I actually have 15 seconds of increased damage because we don't have Frost Nova, we don't have Flame Shield. So this is the only defensive skill we have on our action bar, and that's why it actually lasts for 15 seconds, so we're going to have a permanent uptime on this damage bonus. We're also going with Frigid Fate. This is just another 60% multi to our build, because we deal bonus damage to vulnerable enemies, and our enemies are vulnerable all the time, thanks to our Frost Nova and Lightning Spears. Board number 4 is Unleashed. After we spend 50 mana, which is going to happen all the time, we deal more damage. We also gain more mana regen, which is really important for this build, because mana regen equals life regen, right? Also, we are going with Fundamental Release. Every time we apply vulnerable or crit, which is obviously going to happen all the time, our enemies take more damage. So just another huge source of damage multiplication for us. And the final board, final glyph, is going to be Eliminator, just an additional source of multiplicative damage, more damage to elites, which is the only opponent we really care about. And the last board is Enchantment Master. This is why we have 2 shock skills on our enchantments. If you select one enchantment that isn't a shock skill, you're gonna have a severe drop of damage because of this legendary node. Alright, now it's time for maybe the most important part of this video, which is the gameplay. There are 2 ways to play this build. First one is your average Torment 4 content. Okun's Catalyst allows us to cast Ball Lightning while moving. So we just move around, we are spamming our Ball Lightning, we are teleporting around, and things die. That's literally it. That is the gameplay. As you've seen in the intro, we just keep spamming Ball Lightning on the move, on the go, we teleport around, and things just die. Whether it's Infernal Hordes, whether it's Chaos Rifts, whether it's whatever, things will just die as long as you follow this guide properly. Right? Now, I want you to observe this bar. This is the Crackling Energy bar. I want you to observe how it behaves in combat. So as you can see, by spamming Ball Lightning all the time, we are never running out of this Crackling Energy charges. This is important for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is Ceaseless Conduit. Our Crackling Energy deals 3 times the damage as long as we never run out of charges. And number 2 is Esadora's Overflowing Cameo, which has a secondary effect, which says that once we reach maximum energy, we rapidly unleash it on the closest enemy to us, dealing 100% extra damage. Now, why is this important? Now, what I talked about, this is the Torment 4 gameplay. We just zoom around, we spam Ball Lightning, we zap around, and things die. However, in higher levels of the pit, we really need to take full advantage of the secondary effect of Esadora's. The way it works is, we literally have to plant ourselves on the top of the monster we're trying to kill. Otherwise, we do very little damage. And this is the only main drawback of this build, because the positioning is extremely important. Again, this is only for pit tiers 90+. For anything else, you can literally just zoom around and kill things without a second thought. But for higher tiers of content, you will need to take full advantage of Esadora's, because once your Crackling Energy bar reaches its maximum, its zenith, then the secondary effect of the item starts applying and we start discharging for heavy damage where we're standing. Because the effect takes the closest enemy to us, we need to be planted firmly on top of the enemy we're trying to kill. Now, we have a couple of things to help us with that. Okun's Catalyst allows us to be unhindered while we have this Ball Lightning radius around us. And also we have Teleport to help us position where we want to be. It's still not without fault and difficulties. Special difficulties are monsters that have damage resistance auras. It can be really tricky to try and target them with this effect, especially. So sometimes we're forced to skip certain mobs and certain packs and just keep moving forward. That's really the only challenge in this build. Just positioning and basically making sure that we're on top of something we're trying to kill, because the AoE is extremely small. However, this does have an upside, because this says it rapidly unleashes all charges on the closest enemy. But if you only have one enemy to discharge on, you see where I'm going with this? This makes this build a very effective boss killer. So I will show you the gameplay portion of the Pit 90 very quickly, but you will see how we often struggle with the packs of elites, but once we reach the boss, he dies very quickly thanks to this effect, because this is the only enemy this effect can find to discharge the damage on. And one other thing. In the pit, we want to make sure that we use Spark, because thanks to the exposing combinations, we have 60% damage multiplier if we cast Spark 3 times within 5 seconds. Just like this. 1, 2, 3. As long as we refresh this duration, once every 5 seconds, it's 60% multi, and we want to make sure we keep this on in the pit. So we do this by casting Ball Lightning, we teleport on top of the opponent, we hold right mouse button, and we're gonna keep casting Ball Lightning, and we are discharging continuously on our enemy. Now, if I were to use Spark, because it's on my left mouse button, it would move me away from my enemy, and I don't want that. So ideally, the best way to do this, what I'm doing, is I'm going on top of my opponent, and I'm also gonna hold Shift to keep myself in place, and then I'm gonna use Spark. Because once I start discharging, I want to stay exactly in that place and move as little as possible until my enemy is dead. And that's basically how I can still cast Spark while standing in one place and let Esadoras finish the enemy for me. Okay? Okay, and finally here is just a little bit of gameplay so you can see the build actually in action in the higher tiers of the pit. Now this naughty pit clear might not seem like too impressive for you, but I want you to keep in mind a couple of things. First of all, my gear is super not optimized. Even though I have all the chaos uniques and mythics, this can still go on so much further. For example, missing just one masterwork on plus the core skills is 60% damage less. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that my amulet is absolute trash and I'm missing one passive. On top of all of that, my glyphs are level 45 only. So just something to keep in mind that when you see in this video thumbnail, this build is pit tier 100 plus, I stand by these words. If you optimize this further and if you follow along my guide, you will be able to push this barrier of pit 100, trust me. So anyway, as you can see here, I am continuously unleashing Esadoras, the second effect. Every time monsters start taking heavy damage, you can see, bam! This is the Esadora second effect. I'm just discharging my Crackling Energy charges at them. And again, positioning is extremely important. You want to make sure that these monsters that have damage resistant auras, you want to get on top of them first. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is all the monsters are going to have damage resistant auras and you will not be able to kill them. And I also want you to take a look at my Crackling Energy bar. It keeps going back and forth. This is when we're dealing damage. It's always going up and down, up and down, up and down. And in this period, between being full and empty, we want to make sure we maintain this at all times. And this is where we're actually really doing damage. And you can see, again, here, one monster takes all the beating from the secondary effect of Esadoras, while others maintain the same damage taken. So we want to make sure we maximize this effect of Esadoras as often as possible, because that's really when we end up killing these monsters. 5 stacks of Ringo Starless Skies at all times. Look at Esadora. Bam. Dead. 5 stacks of Crown Illusion at all times. I'm just going on top of the monster. I'm trying to kill. I'm holding down Ball Lightning. I'm using Shift to keep the uptime of my Chaos perk. And that's really it. Everything else is just gonna melt. And also you can see, even though we don't have Lightning Spear on our skill bar, we have Lightning Spears all the time thanks to the enchantment. Also, one other thing I want to show. You can see me slowly taking damage, which results in mana loss. So I'm just gonna pop in Blizzard. And once I have Blizzard active, bam, mana back to full. And we're safe. So we just occasionally cast Blizzard if we're in a bind, if you start taking heavy damage, and then we're golden. We can survive pretty much anything. This is something I also wanted to show. So I find this guy with damage resistant aura, I kill him. I couldn't for the life of me find the second dude. Because the Esadora second effect is so small, I had to be on top of them. I tried to find where the other monster is. I couldn't. Look how much they clumped up together. I couldn't find the other guy that gives them the damage resistant auras. So I had to abandon this camp because I wasn't able to kill the rest of the camp because I couldn't find that monster to take him out first. So that's the only drawback of this build. Very narrow AoE of the second Esadora effect. I would like them personally to address that a little bit. I think it's pretty stupid that it's such a small AoE. Everything else about this build is great. Unlimited cooldown, look to teleport. Bam, I use it. 1, 2, 3. 2 seconds, it's up again. Almost unlimited cooldowns. It's so fast, it's so fun. It's really amazing at speed farming. It's just this one little thing that really bothers me. This super small tiny radius where we have to be right on top of what we're trying to kill. Now let me fast forward and show you how this looks like in the boss fight actually. You might think like, oh, you know, this build takes so hard to kill all these monsters, it probably sucks even harder on bosses. But no, look how fast this boss is dropping, because again, the second effect of Esadora finds the nearby enemy. And if you only have one enemy, well, then that's really it. And that's a bit clear. And again, I just want to emphasize the fact that, as you're gonna see here, me going over things, this is far from optimized build. Even though the items are endgame, best in slot, as far as the glyphs are concerned, as far as tempers are concerned, there is still another 100 to 200 extra multiplicative damage here to be squeezed out. So just something you keep in mind as well. And there you have it, guys. This has been my complete full guide for Season 10 Crackling Energy Sorcerer. I had a tremendous amount of fun setting it up and playing it, and as you can see on the screen, it's such a fun, amazing build to play. And also, it's a completely different flavor from the usual Sorcerer builds in the game, because we're no longer playing around Tal Rasha's ring for 3 different elements. We're fully leaning into the shock for all of our damage. So if you wanted to play a pure mage fantasy, then this build is definitely for you. The only exception, of course, being Blizzard for the high pit pushing variant, but other than that, it's fully 100% shock build, and I love that. We're also pretty much immortal, we have infinite mana, infinite resource, just overall a really well-rounded build that works together really well. So, what do you guys think? Will you be playing this build this season? If you already are, how do you like it? As always, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, let me know down in the comments. I always appreciate your input, and I always try to reply as soon as I can. And of course, there will be more build guides coming up for this season very quickly, so stay tuned for that. Of course, once again, written planner is going to be down below, both in the description in the video as well as the pinned comment. So that's gonna be it for this video. If you appreciate these efforts, feel free to drop a like and a sub. I really appreciate it. We're very close to breaking the magical barrier of 500 subs, and I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you guys for all of your support and your time. I'm Fallen Messiah, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.